to the Ozzy thing, um, because Ozzy leaves Black Sabbath, gets the solo thing started. They're looking for a hotshot guitar player. They bring in Randy Rhoads, who is not necessarily Eddie Van Halen. He's doing his own thing that is very different from Eddie Van Halen. They have different influences, actually. Eddie Van Halen is on record saying, dude, I love fucking Black Sabbath. That was one aspect that David Lee Roth hated about Eddie Van Halen and Alex, that they actually liked metal. David Lee was like, that's not entertaining. That's not going to get chicks to the shows. Dumbass. Randy Rhoads, not a Black Sabbath fan. Did not want to play the Black Sabbath songs. Wasn't a fan. Took a little bit of forcing for him to do that. Anyway, Randy Rhoads is in a band called Quiet Riot. Quiet Riot is trying to do what we would now call classic rock with a little bit of glam, right? They got the kind of cutesy outfits on from some of those bands from the 70s, like The Sweet and T-Rex and stuff like that. And Randy Rhoads is a bad motherfucker playing guitar. And Quiet Riot just isn't hidden. They get like a weird Japanese deal with one of the majors, but they can't really get a US deal. When the opportunity comes to apply out for Ozzy, begrudgingly he tried out. He didn't want to do it. He gets the gig right away because he was just such a good player. And that first Ozzy record is extremely different than a Black Sabbath record. It's not as heavy. It's a little brighter sounding, in my opinion, maybe because of the tuning. And Randy is coming from a very different place musically. I mean, there's also a large age gap between those two guys. He's coming from a different place musically than Ozzy was at for those previous 15 years or whatever of his career. And some of those songs in that first record, Blizzard of Oz, are throwaway Quiet Riot riffs. So this band that would later be kind of the first hard rock band, if you will, to go number one, Quiet Riot, or metal band, whatever you want to call them. There's this wave again of this music that we're going to call heavy metal, because it's not rock. It's a lot more distorted. It's a lot faster. Generally, it's a lot darker. But when Ozzy hits with Blizzard of Oz, his image and his reputation is the darkness of the music, because the music is pretty radio friendly. Crazy Train, some of the funniest memes on the internet are Crazy Train memes, because that opening riff of that song is one of the greatest opening riffs ever. You're like, you're ready for something to go down. And then when the song comes in, you're like, what the fuck did he just say? What happened to the song? I don't know if you can do that today and have a song be such a large hit. If you remember the reality show, The Osbournes, it opened with Crazy Train, but a lounge version of it. And the lounge version, I think a lot of people didn't even notice it was an Ozzy Osbourne song because the words aren't negative. It's like the happiest song you've ever heard. And this, for me, is kind of the foundation of what's going to be hair metal. So when I see all these documentaries, oh, there was a dark time for me. I'm sure it was harder for certain bands to get gigs. I brought up the whole Robert Plant. I always get Robert Plant and Robert Palmer mixed up. They're very different British men. These guys that have been around, these establishment acts, are making really bad records and solo records. I understand why people think rock music might be dead, but it's not. Thriller tells you it's not. I never see. I guess it doesn't fit the narrative of like, out of the ashes of nothing came this thing we were going to call metal. There's this really cool interview with Ronnie James Dio from late 90s, early 2000s. Rest in peace, Ronnie James Dio. Also, please go watch the Dio documentary. One of the best music docs out there, and it will make you cry if you have a soul. If you don't cry, you don't have a soul. Dio says that he hated the hair metal bands because he felt like everybody got lumped into the metal category, even those guys, and they were never metal. And they ruined it for him and the rest of the metal guys. I don't know if I believe that wholeheartedly, but I understand where the frustration comes from. When you think about this moment, 1982, these guys are making very honest records, right? Listen to Screaming for Vengeance and tell me you think Judas Priest is trying to make a pop record. Fuck no. They don't know this stuff is going to really blow up. Van Halen, Diver Down. They've had success. They're playing big places. They're no longer the opening act by the time Diver Down is an album. But they don't know where they're going to go because MTV is in its infancy. So no one knows the power yet of cable television and MTV. So 82 is another interesting year because I don't want to say it's pure. I don't want to say that. It's just the way music is getting out is still, you have to tour. Festivals aren't, especially domestically, aren't what they are today. It's just a different era. Radio's very important, but radio isn't playing a lot of this stuff either. When you go and listen to the metal dudes, we had to go get these imports. There was this one record store in San Francisco that sold the import records, and that's where we would get them. And you hear what they say: I traded drugs for records. Because another thing I want to keep reminding people is, because I think we forget this too, is we didn't have the history of recorded music at our fingertips. You had to save money and buy shit. So if you're bumping Foghat from 75, you're probably bumping Foghat from 75 and 82. Unless someone's making you this newfangled thing called a mixtape. And you got to have some money to have a cassette recorder to be able to record from a record. So people are recording from the radio. Like, just the means and the way you got stuff was just so different. It was more difficult to a certain degree. There's trading of music going on right now in this era, which I think is actually kind of cool. I do appreciate when people send me new music because I don't want to search for anything. But the guys that followed, that the derivative of some of these great bands, I hate to say it, is bands like Motley Crue. It's not really Wasp, even though they get lumped in, because Wasp to me is a continuation of that new wave of British heavy metal. You know, they're going to do all the things that are shocking. Like, hey, we grew up listening to Alice Cooper and Kiss, but we also really fucking dig Maiden. Here's Wasp. When we listen to, even Quiet Riot, I think Twisted Sister. Twisted Sister's on this list. And for some people, they're going to be like, I don't know that song. Yeah, because we know Twisted Sister from the videos. And videos had a weird effect on hair metal. So as metal becomes popular in the 80s, right, record labels are like, okay, well, this rock thing can work. Ozzy showed us it works. Definitely the Van Halen boys are showing us it works. We got this, what are they called? I just forgot their band. Quiet Riot Band. Let's put them in with the producer, see what we get, right? Come On, Feel the Noise is a big hit, the following year in '83. Um, Motley gets their major label deal, and they're going to release Shout at the Devil in '83, which is a big record. They do the US Festival. And for those that don't know, the US Festival was 3 days. There was not multiple stages, there was one stage. And they broke it down by kind of genre. And the hard rock and metal day had outpaced the other days almost 2-1. So there was like 300,000 people to see Priest, Scorpions, Van Halen, Motley Crue, and Quiet Riot. US Festival is very important in metal's growth. So you could see its importance with people, even though it wasn't getting a certain kind of traction in the popular forms of media, radio and MTV. But people wanted it. They told, no, this is what we want. And then you got it in spades. We're going to give you all the Quiet Riot. I think the video transition for some of those bands didn't work as well. Not because they weren't good performers, not because they weren't good rock stars, sometimes because they just weren't that attractive. Let's just be honest. Video really did kill the radio star. Ask Billy Squier. He was very popular until the video years. Ask Toto. There's a lot of bands that just didn't make it to the video years because, and we can argue about attractiveness all day long. I'm not going to sit here and say, Vince Neil is hotter than Kevin DuBrow because I just don't give a shit. But I think the people told you that. Twisted Sister had these songs like We're Not Gonna Take It, which to me I don't like that song. I don't. I just maybe if I was at a sporting event or something and my team was down and they played it right in the fourth quarter to like rile up the defense or some shit. I don't know. Maybe I'd get fired up. But not a big fan. But that video fucking works. I Want to Rock, it fucking works. And do you then write songs for these cartoonish videos? Because if you do, then you become a one-trick pony.